Indonesia managed to exceed its investment target in 2022, attracting over 1,207 trillion rupiah in investments. But how did Indonesia manage this in a year filled with many global economic challenges? And can Indonesia reach its even higher investment target this year, even amid forecasts of a global recession? Well, MGN's Lily Cristanto and I myself reported on the story. After facing tough challenges during the peaks of the pandemic, investments into Indonesia saw a positive return to form in 2022. Over the course of the year, Indonesia attracted over 1,207 trillion rupiah in investments. This exceeded both the target set by Indonesia's President Joko Widodo and the target set by the National Development Planning Ministry. This was achieved even as 2022 saw many global economic challenges, from rising food and energy prices sparked by Russia's war in Ukraine, causing soaring inflation and slowdowns in many economies around the world. So how did Indonesia manage to attract so much investments? Well, one of the major factors was a swift recovery of consumer demand amid the successful handling of the pandemic, which then attracted large amounts of investment into various sectors, from services, transportation to hospitality.
Yeah, I reckon there are a number of factors that has contributed to the achievements last year. So, first of all, I think one of the most important factors is actually with the recovery of Indonesian economy, especially domestic economy, and in particular, I'm talking about the recovery of mobility here, people's mobility in particular. And that, of course, has created or stimulates domestic demands, and also stimulates consumptions everywhere in different sectors. And especially if we talk about investments, when people are, increase the spendings, of course, it's good for investments. And in particular, in this connection, I think the investments in certain sectors like the services sectors. So there's an increase of investments in the transportations, for example, hotels, accommodations, telecommunication, and also, of course, financial sectors.
Sectors such as mining also saw substantial investments of over 136.4 trillion rupiah throughout 2022. In fact, the mining sector received the second highest amount of investments last year, coming amid the government's push to develop its downstreaming industry. Much of it also came from China, which astonishingly saw a 156% increase in investments into Indonesia, even as their economy slowed down significantly.
The Chinese investment in Indonesia is majority in the smelter processing and constructions infrastructure project. So if we're talking about the smelting business or industry, the China need a huge amount of the nickels coming from Indonesia for their EV, their battery industries. Therefore, if we see from the Indonesian statistics, many of the nickel processed in Indonesia, more than 70%, export to China as a main target of the export. So therefore, to ensure that the supply of the nickel is stable, many of the Chinese company, many of the Chinese financing institutions, including the bank itself, they try to invest more, inject more capital expenditures to the mining sector, smelting, processing sectors in Indonesia.
But as the global economic outlook remains grim in 2023, with forecasts of a possible global recession, can Indonesia continue to attract investments from countries such as China, which contributed the most last year?
China's recovery with the removal of the zero COVID policy, I think it will take some time, because if we look at the COVID-19 case in China, I think it's at the peak seasons. I mean, in increasing. So the number of cases per day has been more than 10,000 in China, which is very high compared to Indonesia, for example, which is less than 100 right now. So even though the zero COVID policy has been removed, I think it will take some time for people for Chinese consumers to gain confidence, to build the business again and to have a normal mobility. So yes, with this growth of 5% for China, I think it's also good for investments, for Chinese investors to move overseas and invest in other countries, including Indonesia. But I don't see especially in the first half of 2023, a very significant increase in Chinese economic growth, including also Chinese investments.
In 2023, the Indonesian government has set an even higher investment target of 1,400 trillion rupiah. Many challenges lay ahead this year, but if Indonesia continues its trend of achieving growth of 5% or above, the Indonesian Ministry of Investments have stated that they are confident that this higher investment target can be met.